Yashwant Ghaisas, the Managing Director of Minilec India Private Limited. Uh, I also am the Managing Director of the Yashapura Group of companies, Minilec being a flagship of the group. We are a 55-year-old group working in the field of electronics as well as engineering, manufacturing our own products, most of which are patented, at least some part of it which is patented, and have been supplying to a wide range of B2B customers. Uh, Focusing on Minilec here, we primarily work in supply side monitoring uh, of all projects. So uh, our end user customers are power sector companies, railways, uh, large infrastructure projects, chemical plants. Uh, but being a small relay and annunciator manufacturing company, in most cases we also work through OEMs like Schneider, like ABB, like Siemens, and we have been supplying to all these public sector companies as well as private companies, uh, mostly through the OEMs, but our brand has been the approved brand and the one which is specified by these companies. For power sector companies, primarily, we also have been supplying to power sector companies in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Kuwait, in Oman, in UAE, and all of these for more than 15-20 years now. We are one of the largest manufacturers of I won't say largest anymore, yes, because a lot of large group companies have also now entered the same field, but we are one of the largest manufacturers of control and monitoring relays and annotation systems in India today, and certainly one of the large MSME segment companies in this sector.
You also touch upon your a little bit about exports and recent product launches.
We have, well, we have been selling a few of our transducers, one of our new lines for the past few years. But this year we have actually gone into a more aggressive push for the transducers and have introduced a few multifunction transducers to our line of transducers for this year. And for exports, I would say that one of our good successes this year has been to get orders from SEWA, Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, for their annunciators, where we have replaced a few let's say a little old annunciators from Europe and have come up with more technologically advanced alternatives to those, and have been getting repeat orders on that since then.
So as you mentioned that you have done some or incorporated some advances in your product lines. So in with that regards, how do you see a demand trend for your products, particularly if you can focus on 2019 and 2020 as a comparing spot?
Well, 2019 was a really good year, I would say, because our growth rate was also pretty good. Fairly high double-digit growth is what we could achieve last year. This year has not really been as good, and it's not just us, it's everybody. So this COVID-19 situation has really affected the growth plans. But to be honest, everybody in the industry, wherever we are talking, is pretty hopeful that barring these few months from April onwards, till even till June, but industry would come back to steam by end of September or sometime during September, and we expect the same kind of results per month-to-month results as we had last year. Can't really expect a very high growth for 2020 because we have lost a few months, but we would be back to what we were doing, as I said, as a monthly business in 2020 as well.
So now looking at the factors that that actually had a good demand for your product. So what could you list out some factors that we would see in the coming time, post COVID, you can say, and
Right.
that would be contributing more share to the increase in demand for your products. So could you list out those?
Yeah, sure. I mean, basically, wherever we supply our control and monitoring relays or even our annunciators are primarily infrastructure activities. So, with the kind of infrastructure growth that India is projecting, and even all the other countries that I spoke of, primarily of the developing or I would say semi-developed, like Malaysia probably, where the infrastructure growth is still pretty high, and right from chemical plants like fertilizer plants to steel plants to power sector companies. In India specifically, the power situation is currently still in a very high growth phase because we'll be needing a lot more of that. And all these infrastructure projects have been the biggest contributor to our growth and will still remain to be so for the foreseeable future.
So, could you just get us a detailed view about how exactly is the relay market in India, and what we would see in the coming days? Like, will there be any new changes, or probably the new announcements that have been made by the government would also impact the market, maybe growth or maybe degrowth as well? So, which aspects you would see, like what you see in the time to come, and where the
As
market
I,
is?
sorry, well, as I was saying that all the announcements made by the government, specifically in India, have been about infrastructure growth in all areas. So right from the gift city in Gujarat to, as I said, lots and lots of power project announcements, solar project announcements have made a fairly good foundation for the growth of the relay market. When I'm talking about relays, I'm talking about the electrical relays, not about the electromagnetic relays, on-off relays, but the control and monitoring relays as such. So there seems to be, I mean, as and when this COVID situation improves, these infrastructure requirements are not going to be left behind. So there'll have to be a fairly fast uptick of the business on this front. Even in June, for example, we had a very good response from the market. Starting after the lockdown, we started sometime by end of May, and we had a pretty good response from the market. Though for June, we believe that was more of a pent-up demand. So as July is progressing, we are seeing a similar trend as in June. It did not really grow after that, but we are expecting the growth after the COVID season improves based on all these infrastructure projects. As I said, power being the largest, of course, and other infrastructure projects like Gift City or any such kind of high value infrastructure projects and including the high volume AC requirements have similar kind of control requirements. So all these projects would add to the market.
So, do you also see any challenges that the industry is currently facing or would face?
Oh yes, of course. Well, the challenges that the industry faces in India primarily are the government process is a pretty slow process. So right from the issuing of the tender to approval of the tender to getting certification for products, it's a fairly long process, and many a times you can't really fathom why it is taking that long. So one of the largest problems would be the process time itself for the infrastructure projects to take off. So you are of, I mean, you get an order probably, or you get a tender and you are pretty hopeful of something happening this year, and it can just take 6 months or 8 months, and the projections goes to the next financial year. The other issue, of course, is the cash flow compounded by the COVID today, but large projects, again, the same thing being held up can create a cash flow situation for large OEMs, and then we end up also facing the brunt of that whole situation. This is for business. Looking at the Atmanirbhar Bharat slogan that now all of us are following, and the government is pushing for it. One issue that I feel as a challenge is most of the OEMs that take up, at least the electrical side, take up projects for large infrastructures in government are MNCs. There's hardly any Indian company which takes up this project. So all of us MSME segment companies as well as some large companies also end up supplying their products to just international MNC OEMs. If a company like BEL or ECIL, for that matter, could take up such kind of jobs, then we could actually have a larger Indian supply chain supplying to the infrastructure projects. So that's where our own attempt at Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India would be supplemented by someone who's larger than us and taking up a larger chunk of the project.
So, now coming back to the COVID impact, so could you tell us like how exactly has the COVID impacted the industry, and has the economic package that was announced by the government is really helpful, or do you see that it would bring in good change?
Of course, COVID has impacted everybody. I mean, I said 2 months of absolutely zero business has certainly affected a lot of balance sheets. Uh, at the same time, this being a global phenomenon, it's not like somebody is losing out to competition somewhere else because everybody is affected. So whatever was the expected project which was going to come up would still come up with a delayed timeline probably. So it has affected in the sense that it's affecting on the timeline. It may not necessarily affect in the total volume of business in totality. Uh, Coming back home, uh, again, being in Pune, we are probably one of the worst hit cities for manufacturing, being in Maharashtra, being in Pune. So even though we started manufacturing sometime in May, the supply chain actually could not start. A lot of shops, traders have still not been able to be fully functional. Even if they have the material, even if they want to supply it, supply chain, as in the courier companies, the transport was not really doing as well as it should be or as fast as it should be. So primarily we faced issues on the supply side. The demand side, at least as I said, for June, July, there was probably some pent-up demand. So we didn't really face too much of an issue on demand side, except again, if our customers were in a lockdown situation, we could not supply. But the demand was very much there. As far as the economic packages introduced by the government, uh, up to 200 crores, no global tender would be something that would be certainly helpful, but though it is yet to materialize. So that's something we can't really talk of much. But as far as the actual monetary help that the government has put up, mainly in the form of loans, a lot of companies, and it's primarily for MSME. So a lot of MSME companies, though eligible for the same, have not really gone up and taken it up because uh, as long as there is a slump in the demand, even if we do take up a loan, it will actually add to our burden and we wouldn't know where to pay it off from. So till the demand, I mean, there is a spurt in the demand, or the demand is spurred, uh, just the help of a loan to pay off your standing liabilities would not be enough. I would say that if there is also some sort of a help to the larger companies, to the OEMs, to the project companies to pick up from where they have left off before COVID, this will probably give a push to the whole economic cycle. And that will be a bigger help than just monetary help because for a good company anyway, a lot of banks are more than willing to give further helping hand because banks are flush with funds and they don't have the right kind of borrowers anyway. So this help, I mean, this kind of help from the government is welcome, but probably not enough.
So now looking at a different perspective of automation, do you see that this COVID-19 situation in the post-COVID time, there would be a rise in automation and it will give it will help to bring up a new opportunities for companies like you, and it would also help you to grow simultaneously.
Uh, the automation scenario is certainly going to go up. I mean, a lot of companies, even small and mid-sized companies, are certainly going to ramp up their automation for manufacturing as well as non-manufacturing processes. So there is certainly going to be an uptake in the automation business. For Minilec per se, this is not going to be much of uh, a business booster, so to say, because we have a product which goes into, as I said, we are primarily into supply side monitoring. So more the automation, more supply side monitoring will be required. But then the kind of volumes that we expect from larger infrastructure projects will still not. I mean, those coming from automation will still not be anywhere in line with those. So large infrastructure projects would still be contributing to our growth plans more than automation uh, generated activities, automation generated projects, because those will be much smaller in value as well as in number. The number might be higher, but much smaller in value. Not for Minilec, but for our other group companies. We are in, as I said, we are into automated storages and material handling. So for these two lines, yes, right since the start of activity from end of May, early June, we have had more inquiries coming on those lines because yes, automation has been the buzzword now.
Now, looking at the going back to the COVID scenario, like why I was asking this question about automation was like many manufacturing companies have uh, what you can say opted for it, and this may be because that the social distancing guidelines ask people to be away from each other 6 feet distance. So to maintain that, if your processes are automated, not wholly but partly, like whatever is required to be automated, people are going in for that. Now, coming to this COVID scenario again, like how would you see it? Like, will automation uh, be uh, be good for adoption in the coming time, or it should be adopted right now as we move out of COVID?
Uh, Again, as you rightly suggested, automation need not necessarily be for anything else but for the kind of social distancing norms, as well as in all probability, a lack of the migrant population available for employment. So it's not just skilled or unskilled shop floor level jobs, but even in the middle level jobs, there is a lot of migrant people have probably gone back, and this COVID situation is in all probability going to create a decentralized manufacturing setup. So in that case, you won't be having all the required employees at one, I mean, wherever you need them to be. So automation cannot be avoided on many fronts now. We have done a few small semi-automation kind of activities in our own manufacturing setups since May because of lack of manpower. I mean, we were trying to cover up for the lack of manpower. People would be doing that everywhere. And I would say that that's probably where we should be going if you want to remain competitive globally.
Okay, so that was very much interesting, and I'll just uh, like I've got everything to the questionnaire, and
Mhm.
thank you so much for your
I
time. And yes,
I would like
yes,
to
yes.
add a couple of things though.
Sure,
Post
sure. Go
COVID,
ahead, sir.
and irrespective of COVID, post COVID, the other things that are going to drive the industry are the new lines, or I would say new technologies that have everybody's talking of, renewable energy, and as a subset of that, but electrical vehicles. So what we have done is we have developed our products, or let's say developed some variants of our products to cater to these industries in specific. Electrical vehicle charging, for example, or solar products like solar pumps. Solar pumps need to be controlled from the electrical side of it. So agriculture pumps, but solar pumps. So products to control these specific activities is something that we have come up with. We have also decided that, going back to my concept of uh, Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have realized that we are, I mean, the small and medium sector electronic industry today is bound from both sides by non-Indian entities. So all our supply chain, primarily the semiconductor side or component side, is from, unfortunately, from China or from the East, sometimes in Korea, sometimes Taiwan, but from the East. And our customers, OEM project builders, are primarily Western companies. So we realize that, at least as of now, we don't have the strength to become a really big OEM. But what we can very well do is increase our share of the components that go into the control panel to contribute towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat part. So we have come up with a few enhancements to our lines. Currently, we are working in, as I said, control monitoring relays and annunciators. We are thinking of expanding the relay side. Plus, we are looking at a couple of lines where we have already started working on the product, but nothing from my side to divulge about now because the products are still to come on the market. But expecting that to happen in the next 4 to 6 months. So we are increasing our overall scope within a control panel for a large project. So that's one thing that we are looking at, and I suppose that's what every company, true to its name, having its own design capabilities, should be looking at. So we go from there. And the other area that I would like to say we should have some focus on is exports. Currently, we are, as I said, selling to around 16 countries. 7 or 8 of those take up most of our export volume, and our customer segment there is primarily PSUs, par PSUs to be specific. So we are looking at all the different lines that we have been supplying here, from chemical plants to uh, water companies, as an alternative for, not an alternative, as an addition to our power company customer base. So these two things is something that we feel that the next growth is going to come from.
Do you also see that the PSUs, the government has asked PSUs to source more from the local component manufacturers? So do you see that now that you have said that you want to increase the supply from your end, which goes into control panel, and with that particular idea, do you think that PSUs would definitely help companies like you to grow on a larger scale in the time to come?
In principle, yes. I mean, I also am currently an office bearer of Laghu Udyog Bharati at Maharashtra state level. I'm the governing council member, looking after finance, primarily banking and finance. But then I've been talking to a lot of PSU heads, and their concern is the other way around. They don't get qualified suppliers from domestic, specifically small and medium sector companies, to deliver them the products that they want. So the more that people actually go ahead and start developing and manufacturing these products, the PSUs are more than welcome or more than willing to buy from them. Of course, quality should be the focus for us to manufacture also. One of the largest strengths of Minilec has been, I mean, all these 55 years, we have had a very good run because our quality standards are very stringent. We are less than 0.01% failure today. Our service is extremely good. Uh, in most cases, whatever service, post-sale service we actually provide, has got nothing to do with problems generated because of our products, but it kind of acts like a free consultancy to resolve issues at the customer end. But then this complete know of the situation and forthright service support has been one of our strengths. And if we keep on doing that, we and any other company is doing that, then the PSUs would be more than willing to buy, because anyway, buying from international companies is not just expensive upfront, it's expensive in the long run because of their service costs. So they would uh, be more than glad to take it from us.
Do you also think that the quality is the only issue that PSUs have not yet opted for local sourcing of their components, or is it also timely deliveries and also timely delivery of volume as well?
Actually, both. I would say that, well, even before that, the bigger thing is there are not many component manufacturers available in itself. I mean, not many domestic companies actually are doing a lot of electronic component or small level products that the PSUs would be looking for. But those who are into it, quality is the primary issue, I would say, because a lot of people, I mean, we are certified in uh, CE, we are certified in CSA, we are certified in, uh, uh, we've done here our testing ERT or ERDA, we have certified in CISIR, but then a lot of companies, domestic companies, have not got all these certifications. So their product qualities cannot be proven. But then, along with that, your other point was very much valid. Uh, One of my German buyers had once told me that he's a little wary of buying from Indian companies because Indian salespeople promise the world and then don't deliver. So, if anybody asks them, "Will you be able to do this?" they would just jump up and say, "Yes, we'll do it," and then they don't because they are not really capable of handling that kind of work. That's something that we as an industry need to kind of tighten ourselves up and say that we'll only commit what we can do. Or if you are actually going ahead with something that you are not really experienced with, be forthright, talk to the customer, including the PSUs, because the PSUs today are open to have a discussion with the company which is saying that I will develop this product for you. I don't have the know-how now. I don't have the capability to manufacture now, but I'll do it. And if the product is developed, I will develop the manufacturing capacity for the same. So the PSUs are willing, the international companies are willing, if we are forthright about this and are judicial in what we talk of. So if we keep on doing that, I think that it's not just a question of quality, it's a question of our commitment to deliver what we are talking of. If we commit both, I think that should work.
So in terms of expansion plans, would you have any like in the long term or in the short term as well? Only about
Uh,
the expansion.
yeah, basically, as I said, we are currently focused only on the supply side monitoring, and we are looking at expanding in some uh, allied but not the same line. I mean, not necessarily into supply side monitoring. So we have already started working on a couple of lines of products where uh, it will be besides the supply side monitoring part of the control panel. But as I said, I have not really gone ahead and committed because uh, till date we have a history of going through with our commitments. So if I'm going to commit something now, I might as well be able to do it. So I'll actually be able to speak on details when we when we know that it's going to happen in the next 3 months. I'm pretty sure it will happen in the next 4 to 6 months, but let me be more specific. Let me have my trials done, and then I'll be able to commit on those.
Okay, sir. That was very much interesting discussion, and I would like to keep this going in the time to come
Thank you,
as
sir.
well.
Thank you. It is a
Okay.
pleasure interacting with IPF. Have been a user of IPF for a lot of other issues. I mean, for the other companies as well, besides being
Right.
related to IPF from Minilec side as well. So thank you. Thank you for having me here to talk with you guys.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.